The story kicks off in the universe of Palladia, a mega-famous VR game known for its absolute sandbox freedom. In that realm, mobs like dragons and titans spawn out of the shadows for the sole purpose of crashing the party and causing absolute chaos. The destruction even reaches the massive fortresses, which totally crumble under the heavy aggro. Enter our MC, a top-tier sweat, just chilling and watching the ruins unfold. Refusing to be a backseat gamer, he jumps from the tower to crash the raid. The daily quest, take down the adult dragon and bag the ultimate system payout. Gripping his spear, he charges head-on at the flying beast. Channeling the power of a colossal titan, our guy focuses on sending the monster to the lobby for good. But the beast claps back, blasting an absolutely massive wave of flames. Even surrounded by fire, our hero doesn't back down and keeps up his sweaty put. The clash of their attacks is massive, triggering a massive energy blast and fireworks in the sky. Feeling the sting, the monster lets out a deafening roar that shakes the whole map. But the boss's power level is just too high, landing a clean hit on our player. Unable to block, he gets ragdolled hard into the busted stone ruins. Getting up with 1 HP, the warrior realizes his try-hard moment wasn't enough again. Accepting another L in the server, he decides to call it a day and log out. But when he tries to exit, the system hits him with a glitch and denies the command. Meanwhile, the dragon is prepping another game-ending dive from above. Seeing the system lag out on him, panic starts to set in for our guy. The beast dives mercilessly, jaws wide open for the final strike. With a massive boom, the whole zone gets swallowed by the monster's buff. IRL giant city billboards broadcast his epic fail in the game. The MC walks down the city streets, totally ghosted by his own thoughts over the virtual L. It's pretty obvious he's salty about the loss, looking incredibly annoyed. Glaring at the public screen, the kid swears that next time, he's going to totally carry that boss fight. Completely zoned out thinking about the game, he jaywalks without looking. Suddenly, a runaway truck comes honking at top speed, classic truck cun. With 0 frames left to dodge, he's face-to-face with a real-life game over. After the massive hit, our guy wakes up battered in the snow, hearing a robotic voice. Trying to process his ping, he hears an alert that his HP is at critical levels. Confused, he stares at his busted hand and wonders if that voice was an in-game NPC. Pushing through the debuff, the kid stands up and realizes this frozen wasteland is an actual zone in Palladia. This totally bugs him, because he clearly remembers rage-quitting the server before the crash. Right then, a massive headache hits him like a critical strike. Memories of a young tribal warrior named Alvin download into his brain out of nowhere. Connecting the dots, he realizes he somehow ice-kid into the body of an NPC in this world. The name rings a bell instantly, hinting at an isolated dude from the Northern Realms. Ready to figure out his new stats, Alvin commands the system to open the menu. The screen confirms his worst fears, absolute trash stats and 0 logout but. He realizes these lobby stats are the base build for a hidden class in the game. The menu shows off a wacky core restructuring skill that totally catches his eye. This proves his new meat suit has a rare trait with insane leveling potential. Scanning past patch notes in his head, the MC realizes his character has a multi-tool hybrid talent. Waking up to reality, he notices he just inherited the role of a forgotten legend. In the game's vanilla lore, this kid was supposed to grow into one of the most nightmare-inducing bosses in future DLCs. Knowing he's holding a Titan's legacy leaves Alvin doing some serious math. But he just punches the air, refusing to stay a low HP scrub freezing in the snow. After all, this server is about to get hit with massive global wipe events and server-wide wars. During this chaotic meta, only the sweatiest players will survive the server wipes. Locked in, our hero swears he's going to grind and stay in the game. Jogging across the snow, he remembers a game-ending blizzard is about to drop. The heavy weather turns every single step into a massive raid mechanic for his nerfed body. Even out of stamina, he keeps pushing to purify his bloodline and reroll his destiny. Only by tanking this hardcore winter will Alvin unlock a window to farm some real EXP. Checking the map in his head, step 1 is finding a hunter's cabin to loot some rations. The strat is to dodge the peak of the storm and catch a safe caravan on the trade routes. His endgame right now is catching a ride to the main hub city, where the main questline actually drops. There, he can tap into the main storyline and grab a tanking spec he knows like the back of his hand. This early game buff, which lets him craft the beefiest armor, will be his main carry. Suddenly, a random noise breaks the quiet and draws his aggro. Alvin stops dead in his tracks, noticing some highly sus movement nearby. Without blinking, he dives into the deep snow to break line of sight. Crouching as low as his hitbox allows, the kid checks his corners like a pro. This zone isn't exactly a casual fast travel route, which just makes him more paranoid. On the frozen horizon, tiny shapes start zooming in, kicking up snow. Up ahead, a sketchy figure is booking it for their life on top of a giant Chocobo-looking bird. Right behind them, edgy-looking knights are spamming spells from their mounts. The runner jukes hard, barely dodging a direct explosive owie. Watching the show from stealth, our hero analyzes the play with his veteran game sense. He figures out those spooky skeletal mounts are VIP exclusives for the local elites. The griefing continues as more magic beams slice through the air. Zooming in on the girl, Alvin recognizes the future raid boss queen of that mystic empire. Since she doesn't look like she's wearing the crown yet, he pins down the exact patch version of the timeline. He realizes the gank squad has way too high a gear score for him to try a 1vx right now. Knowing it's a high-level aggro zone, our guy goes full stealth mode, choosing to spectate. Lying flat in the snow, Alvin tries to stay invisible, while the PvP chase goes down right in front of him. Nearby, one of the edgy knights asks if they should bag the target alive, but the raid leader instantly vetoes it. Riding their blue flame beasts, the hunters push hard through the frozen wasteland. In a flashy move, one of the edgy knights leaps from his mount to land a melee finisher. But before the animation finishes, a hand grabs his ankle out of nowhere with absolute vice grip. Caught totally lacking, the mystery guy has zero clue what just happened. With a massive yank, the MC yanks the dude out of his jump animation and slams him straight into the snow. Popping up from stealth, Alvin triggers his barbarian rage buff, maxing out his strength stats. Spooked by the third party, another knight pings the squad about an invader. Rushing in with his dagger, the kid trash talks them for having the nerve to hit the mount. The enemy's face screams lag when he sees the absolutely busted speed of the dash. Pinning the bad guy to the ground, Alvin flames the squad, calling them total trash and raging at their toxic playstyle. Seeing this, the squad leader tilts and tells his team to send the kid to the lobby. While getting clapped, the pinned guy whines that the kid is team killing his own faction. Ignoring the voice chat, our warrior keeps up the aggro while noting the crazy high defense stats of this enemy race. Off in the distance, the giant ground bird lets out a sad chirp, its HP hitting 0 from the damage. Unable to stay up, the creature crashes into the snow, taking the princess down with it. Seeing this, the hunter boss tells the rest of the party to chase the main VIP while he handles the random noob. Glaring at the kid, the man flexes, asking if he isn't embarrassed to be a noble acting like a total barbarian. With a slick kick, the MC punts away the low HP mob he had pinned by the neck. The system UI quickly pops up, showing these enemies have different power tiers based on their bloodline. Scanning the field, Alvin realizes he's basically 1v, wanting an elite mini-boss who commands the weaker mobs. Done with the cutscene, the commander charges in angry, promising to speedrun this fight. Spamming his high-speed stat, the guy throws sword swings, demanding the kid try and parry. By a single pixel, the warrior dodges the blade, admitting he almost threw the match right there. Feeling cocky, the leader BMs bad manners the kid and dares him to finally pull his weapon. Instead, the MC just clenches his fist, channeling all his remaining stamina. The bad guy's face drops into pure shock when he reads the kid's real attack animation. Catching him in the end leg, Alvin drops his own guard and lands an absolute nuke of a punch on the mini-boss. Thanks to his rage buff acting as a painkiller, he tanks the recoil and launches the leader across the map. Catching his breath, the kid roasts modern elites for having 0 actual ranked PvP experience. Nearby, the girl hoists a massive rock over the last-downed hunter, telling him to never sleep on her people. Without blinking, she drops the rock to make sure the mob doesn't respawn. Startled by the sheer overkill, the MC puts his hands up and takes back what he just said about nobles. As the dust settles, he drops the bad news that her mount's HP isn't coming back. Panicking, the girl drops everything and sprints over, crying out for her loyal getaway buddy. She hugs the giant yellow-feathered bird with absolute heartbreak. Slowly, the pet closes its eyes for good, taking the L after saving its owner. Super emotional, she prays her absolute MVP of a partner rests easy in this icebox. Just watching from a distance, Alvin gives the girl a moment of silence to process the grief. Wiping her tears, she walks up to the kid, drops a massive thank you for the carry, and formally introduces herself as Freya. In his head, the kid is just trying to compute how this innocent-looking NPC becomes the most toxic raid boss later on. Catching him staring, the girl gets weirded out and asks why he's zooming in on her face. Playing it cool, the warrior makes up an excuse about suddenly remembering a super urgent side quest. Without elaborating, he bolts toward the down leader's loot drop, leaving the princess totally confused. Grinning, the MC starts looting the mini-boss, mumbling that these drops will fetch insane gold on the market. Ripping off the high-tier rings, he shows 0 mercy for the hunter who's still weakly trying to hold on. Curious about her carry, Freya walks over and asks for his handle and spawn point. Pocking the sweet loot, the guy introduces himself as Alvin, flexing that he's a local from these northern maps. The princess's eyes go wide, instantly recognizing his title as the legendary First Blessed Son. Impressed, the kid admits he didn't expect her to know the deep lore of this zone. Pivoting to figure out the main quest, he asks straight up who those griefers. With a serious face, she drops the lore that she's the firstborn of the Elrond kingdom, assuming he probably guessed it. Freya explains she got stream-sniped on her way to her Royal Academy graduation. Confused by her pathing, Alvin asks how she ended up so far out of bounds from her own map. Staring at the frozen horizon, the girl replies she had to detour through this server to dodge a royal trap. Her kingdom is famous for maintaining dark magic, giving their ruler the edgy title of Demon King. Back in the day, Elrond was just a nomad clan with high-tier healer builds that got ban-hammered. To survive the high-level mobs in their new zone, they respect out of healing and started body-modding with magic. Over time, this sweaty meta created brutal fighters who play with bones and spirits, dreaded necromancers. This freaky update cycle eventually unlocked a hidden ritual that totally overhauls the human anatomy. Since then, the kingdom's top players got super weird, hiding their mutant skins under cloaks. Unlike the VIPs, the free-to-play peasants get cheap, mass-produced mods, mixing animal parts to be workhorses. Hearing the lore dump, the kid realizes this same clueless princess will one day lead a server rebellion against this very system. Snapping back, the girl stares off into space while the freezing wind messes up her hair. Hooked on the plot, the MC asks her to drop more details on this royal trap. She explains the first wave was just bait to force her to run straight to the capital hub, where the army was camping her. Peeping the danger, she ditched her escort party and took an off-meta route through this dead zone. Gripping her clothes, Freya gets salty, admitting she thought she could solo the aggro. Our guy just stares, shocked to see such a noob side to the NPC who's supposed to become the continent's biggest tyrant. Annoyed that he left her on read, she asks if he's even paying attention to the cutscene. The princess even thinks about leaking the username of the mastermind, but notices he already seems to know. Without saying a word, the warrior just bends down and grabs the downed enemy by his cloak. Dragging the dude through the snow, he tosses him right at the girl's feet, spooking her with a random flex. Glaring at the captive, Alvin demands to know the exact headcount of players in the Empire who unlocked this hidden class. The princess clarifies there are 12 elite clans against her, but she doubts they'd go as far as griefing the royal family. Stepping hard on the downed bad guy's head, Alvin tells her she's forgetting a massive guild in this setup. Confused by the hint, Freya asks who he's talking about. The MC straight up drops the necromancers, asking the pinned guy if he wants to confirm. The mob's eyes go wide, totally shook that his stealth build got outed so easily. Coughing up a storm from the debuffs, the hunter mumbles he didn't expect to get read like a book. Suddenly, a toxic aura starts leaking from his body as he forces himself up. Spotting the magic particles and bone hacks, the girl recognizes the Hippocratic school's signature. Shocked, a grand mage is in the lobby. The dude claps for the princess's big brain, joking she was always the server's top nerd. With a snap, he flexes that they brought high-tier support to script a backup plan. A massive magic circle renders on the ground, while he complains the girl almost managed to log out in time. Right then, the wizard's character model starts glitching and ripping apart from the inside out. The melting flesh gets swapped for a monstrous bone rig that spawns aggressively. A massive bloody skeleton elite mob stands up, looking like absolute nightmare fuel in the snow. Showing his true necromancer skin, the mage jokes it'd be a waste to dirty his own hands on such a high-stat girl. Staring down the freakish boss, the future empress is totally stunned by the CC crowd control fear effect. But Alvin steps in front of her, telling her to chill because he's going to use his mic to talk to the monster. Getting into a fighting stance, the kid casually apologizes for the delay and points out the boss is only a tier 4 mob. The mage admits the level gap is huge, asking why the barbarian thinks he can clutch a win. Playing it cool, the MC replies he was just asking for the lore. In a flash, he dashes to the princess and scoops her up. Carrying the girl are warrior jokes, asking if the boss forgot that barbarians have the highest movement speed for tactical retreats. Popping his dash skill, Alvin books it, leaving the skull mage in the dust. The necromancer rages in the chat, not getting how the kid knew his skeleton pet wasn't fully done loading its combat AI. Tilted by the disrespect, he orders the giant mob to chase the toxic barbarian. The bone boss drops a terrifying roar as it winds up its sprint animation. Launching forward, the mutant hunts them down, kicking up a massive smokescreen of snow. Running at max speed, Alvin trolls the boss, yelling that a tier 4 mob doesn't have the clout to 1v1 him. Arcane energy beams start raining down on our runners. Using pure gamer reflexes, the kid dodges the explosive skill shots while body blocking for the princess. During the sweaty chase, the mage demands to know the kid's real gamer tag and how he has the wiki memorized for necromancy. Alvin just sarcastically replies he's just a casual barbarian passing through. The colossal beast does a massive jump attack, with the villain yelling for him to take those secrets to the game over screen. A toxic green ultimate attack starts charging up in the bone monster's jaws. The necromancer preps his death ray finisher, aiming to send them both to the lobby at once. Recognizing the white mechanic, Freya totally panics, thinking their run is cooked. To balance his weight while sprinting, the MC grabs the princess by the leg and thigh, telling her to stop wiggling. Her face turns bright red, calling the guy a creep and asking what the heck his hands are doing. Ignoring the complaints, Alvin hits a backflip as the enemy fires the laser from above. With insane tracking, the kid mentally counts the exact frames for the spell to peak. On the perfect frame, he calls the monster a slowpoke and equips a light crossbow to his arm. An armor-piercing bolt fires at wild speed toward the airborne target. The projectile hits the exact pixel inside the mutant's mouth, right where the magic was charging. The hit triggers a massive mid-air explosion, completely canceling the enemy ultimate. Totally stun-locked, the skeleton plummets from the sky and splats hard on the ice. Sticking the landing away from the blast radius, the kid gives the thumbs up that the aggro is cleared. Still shook by the 500 IQ play, the princess asks what just happened. The monster tries to reboot, while the mage swears he's going to clip that disrespect. Far away from the ice biome, the massive hub city of Elrond wakes up to a heavy storm. In the VIP Spring Palace, the Demon King's base is fully active. A dude with pink hair speedwalks through the giant hallways, looking super stressed. He barges into the throne room, dropping the bad news that the princess is still MIA. Kneeling on the red rug, the prince begs to lead the guild knights on a rescue raid. The bedridden king instantly denies the request, saying the palace guards can't abandon their spawn point under any circumstances. The kid gets mad at his dad's cold vibes and asks if his sister wasn't the main VIP. Coughing hard, the leader argues the capital will totally crash if something happens to her. The king lays down the law that the server needs an heir ready to take the admin's seat at any second. Realizing his dad just threw his sister under the bus, the prince nods and takes the. Super bummed out, he walks out, leaving the lone admin in his room. The second his son leaves, the king drops an evil smirk between his coughing fits. Staring at an old guild poster, the prince wonders where his favorite sister went. Back in the north, a massive explosion echoes off, proving the aggro is gone. Our MC drops a sigh of relief for breaking aggro, joking he thought the stream snipers would be sweatier. Sus of all that pro-level gameplay, Freya gets in his face and demands to know his real username. Sweating bullets under pressure, he tries to reuse the just a basic barbarian excuse. The princess calls cap, pointing out real locals hate that term and call themselves northerners. Trudging through the snow, she keeps interrogating how a low-int warrior knows such meta spells. Out of options, Alvin tells her to chill with the questions and makes up some lore about an ancient spirit giving him a tutorial. The future tyrant sighs, totally annoyed by the obvious cap, but decides to let it slide for now. Grabbing the edges of her dress, the girl drops a formal emote, thanking him deeply for carrying her twice. She proudly guarantees her VIP guild will hook him up with epic rewards for the carry. Suddenly, a gust of wind blows her skirt up right in front of our stunned warrior. The MC totally fails the QuickTime event to look away and blurts out her underwear is white. Mortified, Freya aggressively holds her skirt down and yells at the creep to look away. Scratching his cheek awkwardly, Alvin tries to backtrack, claiming he was talking about something else. With zero time to waste, our MC starts booking it with the princess while a massive white avalanche renders right behind them. Glancing back, he sees the white mechanic closing in fast and knows he can't drop his movement speed at all. Holding the girl tight, the kid pops sprint across the ice, yelling to keep pushing at max speed. The panic run funnels them right into an old, hidden hunter's cabin deep in the snow mountains. Inside, it's a total safe zone, warm with a pot bubbling nicely over the fireplace. Sitting by the fire to buff against the cold, our warrior uses the downtime to craft and serve a hot consumable. Handing the bowl to Freya, he asks straight up how she planned to 1v3 those guys alone. For an answer, the princess holds out a closed fist and tells him to inspect her item. Flashing a scroll with a shiny gem, she leaves the kid shook when he realizes it's an instant wipe item. Confirming the weapon's rarity, the girl pivots the chat and demands to know why the necromancers want her account deleted. Sipping his soup, Alvin notes it's a tricky puzzle, but plans to check who gets the biggest XP boost from her drop. Looking super grim, the royal heir tilts her head, admitting her own brother Otto would get all the loot. Hearing that, the MC pulls up the mental JPEG of the pink-haired prince known for his wild skins. But he quickly tells the girl not to get baited, since Otto's win would just be fake news. Totally agreeing, the princess figures her bro doesn't have the guts to pull off such a toxic strat against her. Standing by the fire, the kid explains that with the Demon King's HP dropping, a third party is trying to hijack the server. Connecting the dots, the girl asks in panic if this shadowban threat is exactly the Necromancer Guild. Stressing out, she jumps up, declaring she needs to fast travel back to the hub city ASAP. Stirring the pot, the warrior warns that leaving the safe zone now is basically griefing yourself, as the storm would freeze her instantly. Tilted by the map limits, the princess stomps her foot, saying she can't just AFK while her base gets griefed. With a confident smirk, he explains the weather event will pass, and the fact she hasn't logged out yet already ruins the bad guy's strat. Seeing his chill vibes, the heir steps up, asking if he's got a walkthrough to beat this phase. Giving her the side-eye, the MC states that just making it to the capital without getting wiped is step 1 for the W. Hearing the objective so clearly leaves the girl thinking hard about her next skill tree upgrades. Not wasting frames, she stands tall and declares she needs a high-tier carry by her side to stop this hack. Sticking out her hand like a VIP, the princess officially sends a party invite for her future reign. Our guy instantly clicks decline, saying he's got his own main quest and isn't looking to get region locked. Keeping a straight face, he remembers clearly that any party with these royals is a permanent account bind. Salty about the rejection, Freya hates feeling underleveled, while the MC just watches her buff. Refusing to take the L, she admits her inventory is empty right now, but offers herself as the quest reward if he clicks accept. Hearing such a wild offer, the kid literally chokes on his drink. Waving his hands in panic, he clears the misunderstanding, swearing he just wants to unlock a hidden skill tree from her empire. Calming down, the princess accepts the trade window with some terms and asks if he already knows the crafting mats required. Pacing the dark cabin, the kid notes the skill is too heavy on the mechanics to just explain in text chat. Channeling his mana fast, he spawns a bright blue aura on his fingertips. The magic flares up, flexing that our warrior has insane stats way above any local casual. Right then, the MC pops his hidden core modding passive that scans his entire. Using the system UI, he buffs the render distance on this body's ancient memories. Wrapped in the tech glow, Alvin promises again to read the logs on the glitch that wiped his starting village. Outside, the cozy cabin stays hidden under the hardcore frost, masking the epic lore drop happening inside. Cutting back inside, the Elrond heir watches in awe at the top-tier particle effects popping off. The kid pulls up a massive holographic skill tree, casually asking if the girl can read the code. Scanning the projected blueprint, he points out the mats will cost crazy gold on the black market, especially the dragon blood. Staring at the complex web, the girl questions his endgame, since this meta build definitely wasn't made for pacifist runs. Smiling, he argues that the meta is just numbers and reminds her that, for now, she's just a student, not a toxic admin. Buying into the warrior's Sigma grindset, the princess gets locked in to learn the band tech. In front of the glowing UI, she drops a sacred vow on her account's honor to never leak this strat to the forums. Thinking the roleplay was a bit much, the MC notes she didn't need to go that hard on the promise. 3 days of grinding later, the map swaps to the massive, laggy entrance of the famous trade hub, Flanders. Right at the gate, a massive Minotaur merchant yells rudely for everyone to clear the lane for his payload. Just watching the server pop, Alvin quietly studies the crazy mix of player races swarming the air. He realizes the body mods on the Empire's free-to-play users look way crazier in 4K VR than on a flat screen. Navigating the crowded streets, the kid is still mind-blown by how insanely HD and alive this fantasy server feels. Walking next to him, the princess is rocking a basic peasant skin to stay incognito, and is hyped they finally hit the checkpoint. With our boy now using a hat and cloak cosmetic to hide his tag, they push through the massive stone plaza full of player shops. Noticing his duo is completely distracted checking out the loot boxes, he pings her to focus on the objective. Tapping her shoulder, the warrior whispers for her to play it safe, cause they've got stream snipers on their tail. Trying to act like an NPC in the crowd, Freya asks nervously if their stealth got cracked by the enemy team. Keeping a chill face under his dark hat, the kid assures her the threat level hasn't spiked that high yet. Using his meta-knowledge, he points out the obvious stalkers are just low-level bait for the real sweats camping them. Doing a quick threat assessment, the kid admits straight up that his current gear score can't 100 guarantee her safety. Realizing they need better items, the princess pulls out her tiny gold pouch, salty about being broke. In a wholesome move, Alvin head-pats the girl, telling her not to stress since he knows some exploits to farm gold. The hunt for the black market entrance leads them through the busy plaza, where some birds are chilling by a fountain. Right by the brickwork, a dude in a hat selling bird food is listing his items for basically 0 copper. Trusting his game wiki memory, the MC walks up to the sketchy vendor and drops a secret passphrase. Instantly, the undercover NPC changes his whole idle animation and shoots a sus glare from under his wide brim. Without pulling aggro in the packed plaza, the guy asks straight up for their usernames and what quest they're on. Alvin hits him back with another crazy complex code from the classic lore, feeling super nostalgic dropping these old Easter eggs. Next to him, Freya's just standing there lagging out, trying to figure out how this gibberish links to the black market. Still playing it safe, the NPC insists on getting the kid's ID, since noobs without a referral link don't get through the firewall. Keeping his cool, the warrior plays along with the dialogue tree and hints he might be a top-tier admin for the guild. The vendor stands up from his rock, scans the duo, and trolls them, saying they don't look like whales ready to drop real cash. Flashing a 200 IQ smirk, our guy corrects the NPC, stating firmly he isn't there to buy from the cash shop. With a snap of his fingers popping his custom core magic, he spawns a wildly overpowered, glowing raw gem right in his palm. The red jewel glows like a legendary drop, proving his magic stats are completely broken. Flexing the shiny rock, the kid calmly asks if that's enough to bypass the gear check. The undercover guide is totally shook, staring at the absolute god-tier texture of the item. Changing his tune instantly, the guy bows with respect and apologizes, saying their default skins totally jebaited him. Not wasting a frame, the guide walks them through a hidden loading zone, warning them not to pull any aggro down here. Hitting the night market instance, he greets the elite alchemists and promises they'll find their quest items at this waypoint. Scanning the underground map, the kid stays locked in, checking the server's anti-cheat and security. The massive black market is bustling, with players moving through well-lit paths inside the giant cave. They quickly stop in front of a packed tavern called Golden Light, the exact poi the guide marked. Stopping at the door, the NPC drops the intel that a VIP inside is hiring alchemists with crazy good loot and logs off. Chilling by the tavern bar, Freya asks if it isn't weird that legit devs are hanging out in a banned server. Sipping his drink, Alvin nods that it's against TOS, but points out the pay-to-win model usually wins over the player base. Just then, a beefy dude rocking an eye patch walks up, greeting them super politely and apologizing for the queue time. Curious about the kid's low level, the veteran asks which pro coach carried him to this rank so early. Playing it perfectly, the MC invents a backstory about getting mentored by the legendary Edward Elric in a far-off server, and is just farming exp. To flex his stats, the kid pulls off a crazy magic trick, leaving the merchant totally mind-blown. Inspecting the vial, the man hypes up the craft, swearing he's never seen an animation cancel executed so perfectly. Super hyped about the find, the veteran gives a slight bow and invites the duo up to the VIP crafting room. The party walks in silence up a long wooden staircase to the top floor of the shady tavern. At the door, the host promises no stream sniping during the craft and says he'll cover the server tax. Entering the private lab, the princess notes she's never heard of that coach, and the warrior straight up admits it's a troll gamer tag. Shocked by the guts, the girl rages, asking if it's really safe to fake an entire stat page without getting banhammered. Ignoring her panic, he predicts the quest will drop massive gold and tells his duo to start writing down the crafting list. Walking around the lab, Freya asks how he plans to clear the event using just a fake username as a buff. Flashing a confident smirk, the MC pops his hidden mod menu, promising he's got the whole lobby under control. 2 full hours tick by inside the locked room while the crazy secret crafting happens off-stream. Finally leaving the room, the kid hands over the finished data and the massive materials list for the veteran Jabba to fetch. Super grateful, the merchant promises to express ship everything to the guild's public lab before sunset. Agreeing to the timer, the kid logs off the chat, and the duo heads back into the chaotic public zone. The veteran tracks the pros leaving and decides it's time to focus on grinding his own dailies. Walking the streets with his mob squad, Jabba thinks about how the basic support girl totally suppressed him with just one death glare. Suddenly, a minion slides up and warns that the server admins are searching for a duo, matching their exact skins from the ice biome. The eye patch merchant connects the dots instantly and tells them to ping the boss, because these mystery clients have an insane bounty. Still dwelling on it, he remembers how the girl's aura definitely didn't match a free-to-play NPC. The sidekick backs up the theory, pointing out the duo's hitboxes and skins perfectly match the royal ban list. Locking in the toxic strat, the veteran rushes his minion to make sure the big boss gets the intel on this golden ticket. Far from the shady market, the massive alchemist guild flexes on the hub city with its insane classic architecture. Inside the guild, the MC checks his inventory of crafting mats and complains the vendor couldn't source any dragon blood. Without saying a word, the princess equips a sharp metal dagger, looking super locked in to bypass the missing item. Spotting his duo's risky strat, the kid gets nervous and asks if she's really going to pull that move. In a flash, the girl does a small HP slice on her own arm without flinching, ready to use her VIP blood as a patch for the ritual. The high-tier red potion drips straight into a small glass beaker. Holding the ultra-rare drop, she smiles confidently and asks if that's enough to run the code. Stunned by her hardcore gamer move, the warrior nods and asks what his next QuickTime event is to help the build. With a heavy thud, a massive lore book full of ancient spell codes drops hard onto the workbench. The princess says she needs time to balance the potions, and commands her duo to start memorizing the heavy spell glossary. Thinking this is absolute filler content, the kid walks off grumbling that the devs always make these minigames way too grindy. Chilling on the couch, he starts flipping through the massive manual, trying to understand the spaghetti code behind this risky strat. Suddenly, the warrior looks up completely shook, finding an insane lore drop in the guide's pages. Across the huge room, the air is sweating hard, trying to balance glowing potions using her mana pool. The exhaustion debuff is obvious on her face as she tries to hit the exact chemical sweet spot of the unstable potion. Watching her from spawn, the MC realizes she's got absolute god-tier talent for the advanced alchemy skill tree. 3 long hours tick by quietly in the lab, measured only by the candle's durability hitting 0. A massive green transmutation circle renders on the floor, holding a rectangular tank right in the middle. Wiping the sweat from her tired face, the girl sighs in relief, declaring she finally finished the massive magic coating. Walking up to the glowing circle, the kid asks if she's sure it's safe to install this mod directly to his hardware without a beta test. But he immediately drops a genuine smile and swears he puts 100 trust in his duo's rare skills. The internal UI scans the crazy floor array and pings the warrior that the princess optimized the code flawlessly. Returning the vibe, she asks him to trust his own base stats to tank the heavy recoil of the spell. No more stalling, the white-haired kid turns his back and starts unequipping his chest armor. Flexing a super min-maxed character model, the warrior turns around and hypes up that he's ready to hit start. Totally flustered by the skin reveal, the princess hides her red face and questions his lack of chill. Telling her to look away for a sec, the MC keeps unequipping the rest of his gear without caring. Down to just his base layer, he stands facing away while the girl starts painting UI runes directly onto his skin. The rune array on his back lights up, confirming the server connection was successful. Walking toward the glowing tank, he hears the princess warn that she already popped his water-breathing buff. Super carefully, the kid dips his foot into the green liquid, feeling the insane raw stat boost packed in that tiny pool. Watching him load in, the heir admits she's getting a little sweaty about this whole run. Going fully under the juice, the MC tells her to chill since he clicked accept on this raid totally by choice. Sinking to the bottom, his face gets covered by the fluid as his hardware waits for the crazy boot-up sequence. The warrior's character model sits AFK at the glowing bottom, while the princess tries to guard her own mental on the outside. Suddenly, a wild tornado of pure green energy starts spinning like crazy around his hitbox down there. The magic recoil is so brutal the kid's glowing eyes pop open in absolute shock. To his absolute horror, his actual soul gets force ejected from his physical rig floating right above it. Hovering in the ghost lobby staring at a hollow menu, he panics, realizing he has to manually code his own anatomy. Looking at the floating UI, the MC realizes all his thousands of hours in-game didn't prepare him for literal surgery simulator. The panic sets in hard when he sees how hardcore this quest really is. Knowing going AFK equals a permaban, he stares at the countdown timer and decides to speedrun it. Without blinking, he spams the heart icon, explaining that dual-core processing for his blood is mandatory to avoid a server crash and stay alive. With the organ glowing red on the screen, the kid cheers, seeing his big brain strat actually compiled perfectly. Swiping through the UI like a pro, he boots up the nervous, digestive, and respiratory systems back-to-back. Mind blown by the mod menu, the warrior gets super hyped seeing he can even equip a defensive armor layer to his new rig. The system previews his new fully armored, max stat build on the glowing screen. But then the timer hits 0, meaning the customization phase is locked. Salty about the pop-up showing bonus stats, Alvin yells in panic that he hadn't even checked all the tabs yet. Back in the physical lab, the princess watches her duo's body glowing like crazy inside the green tank. Shook by the epic visual effects, she admits she didn't expect her code to run this perfectly, realizing the kid has insane RNG. The warrior stays submerged, idling normally in the magic soup. Suddenly, heavy banging on the door totally breaks the chill vibes of the private room. Spooked by the random event, Freya looks back, wondering who is pulling aggro at this hour. Outside, the spam clicking on the wooden door keeps going non-stop. Holding his hat, the one-eyed merchant apologizes for the random intrusion and makes up some lame excuse about a bug in their latest inventory. Keeping a poker face, the girl states the coach is in the middle of a raid, while her internal radar pings multiple red dots in the hall. Moving fast, the princess casts a barrier spell that spawns thick roots to totally body-block the door. Channeling her mana, she instantly starts the summoning cast for a Tier 1 pet. A huge circular portal renders floating right in the middle of the dark lab. Out of it, just a tiny ball of light pops out, hovering in the room. Thanking the spirit for accepting the cue, the girl asks it to act as a mana battery. The light buff dives straight into her chest, refilling her stamina bar for the upcoming boss fight. While thick vines cover the door, the vendor's voice spams again, demanding to talk to the kid IRL about an urgent patch. Ignoring the toxic chat, the heir pools more mana and speedcasts her summons. An ice bear, a lightning wolf, and a water elemental spawn in looking absolutely massive to hold the point. Pushing her aura to the skybox, she floats surrounded by giant rings, charging up her ultimate skill. The princess then pops a Tier 5 ability meant to pull a massive planar ally of a smaller class. A holy light flashbangs the room the second a female celestial entity renders through the portal. The epic angel spawns, flexing huge white wings ready to throw hands. Hugging the princess from behind with pure wholesome energy, the celestial promises absolute loyalty and swears to carry her. Right next to them, the magic beasts get into stance, waiting for the attack ping. Out in the hall, the merchant totally loses it and orders his two biggest tanks to breach the door. Obeying the boss, one of the mobs dashes, throwing his whole hitbox against the solid wood. But the collision triggers the force field, ragdolling the invaders backwards super hard. Flat on the ground, the baddies complain about the op shield that just parried them. Tilted by the embarrassing fail, the guild boss demands his minions clip through the door no matter what. Equipping heavy axes and wooden bats, the squad winds up their attacks to force a breach. They start spam attacking the plant barrier with every ounce of DPS they have. Inside, the barrier's HP bar starts dropping as cracks form on the seal. Keeping the girl close, the angel notes she finally remembered her friend code, flexing their old oath to protect her. Cutting the emotional cutscene, Freya asks the summon to DM her mom about the king's low HP, just in case she respawns back there. Realizing the stakes, the celestial duo firmly promises to deliver the crucial log. On that exact frame, the door's durability hits 0 and the bad guys clip into the lab, tripping over each other. Decked out in gear, the minions glare at the room. Their faces drop when they see the massive high-tier summons waiting to farm them. Sweating bullets, the vendor is totally shook, asking how these bosses spawned here when the target was just two noobs. Without dropping a frame, the angel pings the magic beasts to rush the squad. In full panic mode, the mobs scream, trying to kite the massive monsters. Annoyed by their audacity, the giant polar bear lands a critical hit on one of the invaders. Right behind it, the water elemental blasts the rest of the squad with high-pressure hydro pumps, knocking them all back. Realizing they walked into a wipe mechanic, the raid leader tells the rest of his team to Alt F4 and save their own skins. But the speedy lightning wolf closes the gap and body blocks the merchant, completely cutting off his escape route. Pulling out a tiny dagger with shaky hands, the one-eyed dude tries to beg for mercy, promising to drop premium treats for the dog. The beast just replies with a furious bark loaded with static electricity. With a fatal lunge, the wolf lands a massive bite right on the toxic coward's leg. Face-palming hard, the celestial summon scolds the princess, telling her to take the match seriously since it's not over yet. Just then, a creepy voice echoes in the lab, claiming that young Freya got kidnapped by a filthy barbarian. The spooky voice makes the angel and the heir snap their heads toward the glowing tank. Inspecting the rune setup, the angel detects the VIP blood and grills the girl about her actual relationship status with the random guy. Trying to dodge the awkward chat, the girl says the lore isn't exactly what her guardian thinks. The MC is still totally AFK, downloading the region buffs from the glass tank. Staring at her duo with relief, the princess admits he's become an absolute carry for her run. The warrior's rebooted body stays totally still, floating in the thick green water. Stressed by the incoming boss phase, the royal heir prays internally that he relogs quickly. The quiet shatters when painful screams echo from the busted hallway. Looking back in panic, the girl tries to figure out what kind of AoE just wiped the invaders. The whole party locks their camera on the dark entrance of the lab. Outside, the downed minions hit 0 HP instantly, getting deleted by a terrifying dark aura. Guarding the princess, the celestial realizes that fatal spell was precasted, guessing the real boss wants to frame them for the team kill. Walking smoothly over the deleted bodies, a shady hooded figure clips into the room, saying sup to his old classmate. The girl's face goes into genuine shock when she hears that familiar toxic voice. Staring at the glowing red eyes under the hood, she instantly spots the dangerous hacker Kyan Paulus. Knowing the worst-case scenario just rendered, the future Empress asks straight up if him being here means the Necromancer Guild went full rogue. Trolling her, Kyan takes off his hood and says this is just a chill reunion, acting like he doesn't know what rogue means. The angel detects the boss music and tells Freya to go into full defense mode against the heavy dark aura filling the room. With that, the mage complains that the Celestial is trying to skip the dialogue, admitting he hates frontline PvP. A massive dark energy floods the zone as a creepy skeleton model spawns in the center of the lab. The princess recognizes the spirit control hack and realizes in shock that the enemy hit the second tier of the necromancer's skill tree. The villain confirms it, flexing how much a low-level guy had to grind and sacrifice to unlock this loadout. Not wasting frames, he decides to show off his DPS and starts charging a dark spell. The heavy, destructive magic spins fast, creating a massive windbox around his character model. Glaring at the air with zero chill, Kyan claims the secret to his stats is that he literally deleted his whole inventory and morals. Clapping back at the flex, the Celestial charges a glowing light spell on her fingertips. Taking the front line, the Guardian firmly commands the beast pets to body block for the princess no matter what. Hearing the order, the giant polar bear and lightning wolf pop their sprint and rush in for melee combat. The ice beast throws a heavy punch, trying to break the enemy summon's shield. But the clash turns into a brutal stalemate while the necromancer just watches, emoting with laughter. A massive purple explosion blasts the zone, completely canceling the bear's attack animation. Unable to tank the spell's DPS, the magic beast gets ragdolled backward super hard. Spreading her epic wings, the angel lands in front and parries the rest of the dark wave. Looking over her shoulder, the fighter promises with absolute confidence that she'll shield her duo from the debuff. Nearby, the bear and wolf try to get back up, showing massive stamina drain after the hit. Worried about the pets, the princess tells them to fall back, warning that hardware damage can permanently corrupt their files. Once the massive dust cloud despawns, Gabrielle holds her hand out, signaling the shockwave is finally over. The royal kid squints, trying to render what survived in the middle of the dark smoke. A massive, terrifying armored boss stands up, instantly recognized as the legendary Underworld Sentinel. Tilted by her old classmate's toxic playstyle, Freya accuses the mage of cowardly burning the souls of multiple players to craft the boss. The villain shrugs, claiming they were just disposable trash mobs, and asks if VIPs actually care about banned players. Taking it personal, the Celestial argues that toxic behavior is still toxic, no matter who gets griefed. During the morality check, the hacker jokes that such a fair and balanced speech perfectly fits an angel's lore. Suddenly, his chill vibe vanishes, swapping to a dark aura as he gets ready to pop his ultimate. With an aggressive point, Kyan commands his creation to absolutely vaporize the opposition. Following the macro, the heavy iron boss charges a fatal dash, wielding its spears at max damage. Jumping into the danger zone, the Celestial calls for cover fire while she flies furiously at the giant mob. The loud clang of metal echoes the second her light blade perfectly parries the dark weapon. Holding its ground, the Underworld Sentinel pushes the iron pole, proving it has a massive stat advantage in raw strength. Oppressed by the heavy hitbox, the angel grits her teeth, realizing winning a 1v1 melee is going to be insanely hard. Playing her support role, Freya charges spells in her hands, letting them know she's adding DPS to the mix. A barrage of light projectiles chips the boss's armor, letting the Guardian drop a thanks for the heals. Scanning the messy team fight, the duo realizes there's zero chance of hitting the Necromancer while his tank is body blocking. Tasting the W, the villain trolls the girl, saying her DPS is way too low for someone with a premium account. Glancing around, he looks for the cocky barbarian, joking that the kid probably rage quit to save his KD. With the Iron Boss still blocking every pixel of the path, it's obvious this sweaty raid is nowhere near done. The mage keeps up the toxic voice comms, reminding her that her VIP bloodline hacks are useless here. Laughing at the missing duo, Kyan doubles down that the coward definitely logged off and left the girls to get wiped. Ignoring the spam, the air locks her camera on the glowing tank, mentally begging her carry to respawn. Clenching her fists in frustration, she figures if the backup lags any longer, she'll have to throw a total Hail Mary. Hand on his face, the enemy bursts into maniacal laughter, guessing the royal kid wasted the ultra-rare ritual buffing a random noob. The panic is suddenly paused by the loud cracking of the thick magic glass shattering. The villain freezes entirely, spooked by a massive arm punching through the tank right behind him. The mage's face goes blank with shock when his head gets grabbed violently before he can even input a dodge. Dropping the stress, Freya cracks a smile of pure relief, seeing her duo loaded back in on the exact perfect frame. Still dripping with regen juice, the warrior stares down the boss in the room and orders the necromancer to fix the glitch. Pinning the bad guy to the stone floor with busted strength stats, the kid demands a surrender while the villain begs for a revive. Even with the raid leader pinned, the brutal weapon clash between the angel and the giant puppet keeps going. Terrified the barbarian is going to crush his skull hitboxes, Kyan screams for the Iron Warrior to cancel its attack animation. The deadly metal blade stops just pixels away from the princess's face, leaving her totally stun-locked by the jump scare. Without letting go of the enemy's neck, the MC demands to know exactly what the lore is behind this giant freak. Sweating pure fear, the mage explains it's an item dropped by his coach for remote control, swearing he already cancelled the aggro. The relief lasts a split second before the underworld armor suddenly raises its weapons aggressively again. Annoyed by the bug, the warrior squeezes the traitor harder, trying to figure out why the retreat macro failed. Kyan genuinely panics when he sees the control item is corrupted, realizing his guild master's plan to sacrifice his account just to guarantee Freya's game over. Dropping a feral roar, the killing machine resumes its brutal attack pattern, proving an admin with way higher clearance took over the controller. Detecting the red zone nearby, the white-haired kid realizes he needs to speedrun the boss to deal with the hidden admin. Like it was nothing, he tosses the mage's body to the side, clearing the arena for the real boss fight. Dashing at wild speed toward the iron mob, the kid yells, demanding the puppet freeze its animation right there. Ignoring the chat, the dark mutant drops a furious groan, already winding up its heavy metal weapons. With completely broken agility, the MC leaves purple afterimages, teleporting across the arena in a single frame. Locking onto its target, the heavy armor drops a massive overhead swing straight at the kid's hitbox. Seeing the massive damage incoming, the princess screams in panic, telling her carry to parry the hit. To everyone's absolute shock, the warrior just uses his bare forearm to block the entire swing of the op weapon. The heavy metal slamming into his skin creates blue sparks, without dropping his HP by a single point. Flexing hard, he laughs at the boss's confusion, explaining the ritual buffed him with invisible, totally invincible scales. Punishing the in-lag, the kid grabs the weapon handle and uses his busted strength to lift the entire mob off the ground. Dropping a battle cry, he suplexes the massive armor upside down in a move of pure disrespect. The underworld warrior gets slammed face-first into the stone floor, kicking up a dust cloud and crashing the armor's physics engine. Clearing the stage flawlessly, the kid dusts off his hands like it was just a tutorial level. Showing who's admin now, he stares down the terrified necromancer in the corner, calmly asking if the traitor has any more lore to drop. Cornered, Kyan warns them not to pop off yet, since his high-level coach will spawn in about 30 minutes. Just 2 minutes later, the whole scene swaps. The MC casually walks out holding a massive loot bag, amazed the bad guy had such premium drops to farm. Left in nothing but his default underwear skin, the mage rages, calling the kid a loot goblin for even taking his gear. Gabrielle doesn't get why they didn't finish off the traitor, but Alvin explains a wildcard like him might be a useful NPC later. The party quickly decides to extract from the busted lab and continue the main quest. Not wasting time, the kid busts through the window, jumping into the driver's seat of a steampunk carriage. Taking the wheel, he hits the gas with total hype. Flying right beside them while carrying the princess, the angel tries to keep up with the sweaty escape pace. Freya loses her cool and asks if the warrior even read the wiki on what kind of wacky mount this is. The celestial guardian is also stressed, asking if he actually has the driving skill unlocked. Laughing, the kid admits he has zero clue and is literally reading the tutorial prompt right now. He holds up the manual, hyped to find out this is a Tier 1 Dawn model. The chill vibes end when the air screams in panic for him to watch the road. The sudden ping catches the warrior totally off guard. Yanking the e-brake hard, he tries to drop his speed to avoid a massive wipe. The carriage drifts violently on the stone road, hitting an insanely risky curve. Getting his handling back, Alvin cheers that he memorized the controls and says he's going to max out the boost to ditch the fortress. Far away, a massive cloud of dark, edgy smoke starts rendering in the skybox, zooming toward the walls. Spotting the freaky weather effect, the Celestial asks what that spooky smoke is, getting the kid's attention. The MC instantly calls it. It's the Tier 4 coach from the Hippocratic School, pointing out the cloud is basically a clown car for undead mobs. Knowing the wipe risk is huge, the angel drops the princess safely into the vehicle and decides to solo the threat. Locked in, she announces she's going to hold the choke point and stop the boss from pushing, no matter the cost. Freya tries to stop her summon from popping a band skill, warning it'll permacorrupt her spiritual files. Launching into the dark skybox, Gabrielle chills the girl out, explaining this is just an avatar, not her main account. She promises that at worst she'll just be on a respawn cooldown for a few days, ignoring the princess's desperate chat spam. Pooling all her holy mana, the Guardian drops the friendly act and gets super sweaty for the boss fight. A massive light laser shaped like a celestial swan tears through the sky, crashing straight into the threat. The glowing ultimate hits the dark purple cloud, completely stopping the boss's push. The random high DPS nuke leaves the necromancer coach totally shook in the middle of the storm. A massive bone dragon renders out of the dark, with the enemy mage flaming the angel's holy skin. The winged mutant drops an ear-splitting roar that makes the whole skybox shake from the insane magic pressure. Watching the stream from afar, Alvin realizes how absolutely broken the stats are on a Tier 4 player. Looking a bit salty, he complains that he hasn't unlocked that kind of op loadout for his inventory yet. But our guy quickly locks back in, telling them to hit the gas, since Gabrielle's massive sacrifice can't be a throw. The carriage keeps kicking up dirt down the road, increasing the distance between the duo and the PvP zone. Meanwhile, the Holy Ultimate keeps tanking like a boss up in the sky against the Dark Army. Massive explosions highlight the aerial dogfight, where the Undead Legion tries to push through the Holy Beam. The Holy Blasts are completely busted, vaporizing chunks of skeleton mobs in milliseconds. Getting pressured, the Grand Mage raises his staff, spamming macros for his army to pop their shields. The Dark Squad obeys instantly, raising heavy shields to parry the light storm. A massive dark magic barrier renders around the Necromancer, spawning a super tanky shield bubble. The Guardian scans the villain's defense strat and calculates her next combo to break the shield. In her head, she prays to the devs that the princess is already way outside the render distance and totally safe. Burning her last stamina points, the Celestial fires a one-shot beam straight at the enemy's shield. The clash of the two ultimate abilities triggers a catastrophic explosion that flashbangs the whole horizon. The shockwave travels miles and tags the carriage, making the vehicle lag and swerve on the road. In the center of the smoke, the mage's shield bubble pops back up covered in cracks, almost hitting zero durability. The necromancer coach gets knocked back by the recoil, feeling the full DPS of that holy nuke. Trying to process the lore, the villain asks what the Celestial's link is to the princess, wondering if she dropped from the Holy Empire faction. Going full toxic, Gabrielle flips the bird at the boomer and tells him to watch his own HP bar. Logging off into a trail of light, the angel promises that when she loads back in with her main body, she'll permaban him. Far from tilted, the evil mage starts spamming evil laughs right in the middle of the busted map. He finds the meta hilarious, trying to guess how many other hidden admins are guarding the royal. But the smirk vanishes when he realizes this side quest just got upgraded to extreme difficulty. Checking his clan's losses, the Dark Coach calls for a retreat, pausing the hunt for now. Meanwhile, the duo's escape goes way smoother across the Green Plains map. The run pauses when they run out of stamina and water, forcing the kid to park the carriage to loot supplies. The chill vibes break when Freya's radar picks up distant crying, deciding to ping her duo. Paying attention to the noise, the warrior turns his camera to the tall grass swaying in the wind. Walking through the field, they spot some panicked NPCs and a kid crying hard over a downed body. Seeing the sad cutscene, the MC guesses the local farm cow probably hit 0 HP. But the princess corrects him instantly, warning that wasn't just a basic work mob. Looking super grim, the girl drops the lore that the victim lying there was actually an NPC human. The creature with minotaur skins and chopped horns was just another one of Elrond's modded free-to-play peasants. The camera cuts back to the busted lab hallway where the guild boss spawns back in, totally naked on the floor. Feeling totally griefed, Jabba rages at the toxic barbarian who ruined his gold farming strat. Right then, a sketchy player model with a toxic green aura renders from the shadows right behind the merchant. The guy drops his name tag as Kuro Wides, announcing he's taking over the hunt from the one-eyed boomer. Totally shook by the spawn, the mob asks in panic if the guild master decided to kick him from the clan after the fail. Kuro denies the kick, saying the boss actually decided to promote him to tier 3 for his grinding. The epic patch notes make the vendor jump up hyped, blindly praising the admin's insane generosity. But the messenger instantly kills the vibe, warning that the boss actually really wants to permaban the old man. He clarifies the boss only held back because a tier 4 mage vouched for him, leaving the vendor sweat. With an evil smirk, Kuro offers a redemption quest if Jabba drops some useful server logs about the targets. Clicking accept instantly, Kuro says he'll take the data, but demands the vendor double the gold payout. In the distant mountains, a tiny chill NPC village is just running its daily cycle, totally blind to the server's drama. Dropping candy loot with a big smile, Alvin hypes up the local kids who swarm him spamming trade requests for more sweets. A local walks up super emotional, thanking him big time for the assist in burying her husband and dropping rations. Playing humble, the warrior skips the formal dialogue tree and says her dropping the waypoint to the water well was payment enough. Leaning on the ride, Freya notes the NPC pinged a well in the next town over, meaning they can push the objective once they refill. Looking super depressed, the princess vents about feeling like a dead weight when she sees her own server suffering and she can't even cast a heal. Taking the wheel, the guy gives it to her straight, reminding her that staying alive is the main objective right now. Flashing a confident smile, he hypes the girl up, guaranteeing they can only patch the server and give the NPCs hope after they secure their own accounts. Hearing that pep talk drops a huge buff on the royal kid's mental, and she finally equips a calmer expression. Hitting the gas on the dirt road, the warrior estimates they'll hit the nearest safe zone tavern before the night cycle starts. Later that night, the carriage safely loads into a well-rendered village under the bright moonlight. Inside the inn, a hot pot of premium food gets served right to their table. The NPC waiter drops a bon appetit, while the duo starts consuming rations after a massive grind session. Sipping her soup, the princess decides to interrogate him on why he booked 2 separate rooms, paranoid the enemy team might try a night raid. With a cheeky smirk, Freya trolls her duo, asking if he was secretly trying to share a spawn point with her from the start. The warrior just shoots back a mysterious smirk, neither confirming nor denying the bait. Realizing she made it weird, the young VIP gets super flustered and ends the chat, telling him to stop trolling. The chill dinner is instantly ruined when a massive crash shatters the window and someone drops a panic scream in the voice chat. Pointing in terror, the innkeeper tells the lobby to barricade the door right now because there's a nightmare mob outside. A massive zombie boss clips through the wooden window frames with absolute brute force. The green mutant drops an ear-blasting roar, spreading pure fear debuffs across the lobby. Before the mob finishes its entry animation, a super-fast blur dashes through the air at it. Punishing the frame trap, Alvin yeets a heavy wooden chair straight into the enemy's hitbox. The heavy knockback sends the beast flying backward, ragdolling it onto the ground and breaking the wall even more. The tavern NPCs are totally shook, watching such an insanely fast counterattack. Dusting off his hands like a casual, the MC flexes that he barely used any stamina for that throw. Relieved by the carry, the innkeeper raises his hands praising the devs and crowning the kid a hero. Realizing he messed up, the kid facepalms, salty that he reacted too fast and pulled way too much unwanted aggro. Far from the chaos, Kuro casually walks through the local graveyard, announcing he's going to drop his mercy on everyone there. Channeling a toxic green aura, the necromancer uses a spooky skull item to cast his cursed summon skill. Instantly, a mutated arm clips through the dirt, spawning right out of an old grave. Revived mobs start popping out of the ground breathing heavy, ready to grief the entire zone. Reading the magic logs, the villain tracks the exact coordinates of his target and sets the mob's waypoint to the nearby tavern. A flash of surprise hits the mage's eyes when he sees how fast the duo parried the first wave. He quickly guesses the runners already checked the minimap, forcing him to switch up his nitrate strat. Maxing out his corrupted mana output, Kuro buffs his dark magic even further. He macros his new zombie horde to push with max DPS and hunt the royal VIP with zero mercy. Inside the lobby, Alvin yells at the NPCs to equip gear immediately because the raid is nowhere near done. Panicking from the warning, the guys start stacking tables and heavy crates to block the main choke point. Taking raid leader status, the warrior assigns the men to hold the ground floor and tells the women and kids to fall back to the second floor. The suspense spikes when light tapping starts echoing from the outside of the barricaded door. With a firm hand gesture, the MC tells everyone to mute their mics so he can read the play. Walking slow, he pushes up to the door super carefully so he doesn't give away a pixel. A shaky female voice comes through the voice chat, begging desperately for a heal against the monsters. One of the NPCs gets baited by the crying and says they need to break the barricade to save the poor girl. Spotting the trap, Alvin drops a hard command, telling the guy to hold position before he throws the mat. Keeping the door locked, the warrior asks the supposed victim how many mobs are outside. The voice turns up the crying volume, claiming there are infinite spawns and begging them to open up. The local NPC tilts and flames the Outlander, arguing the girl is going to hit 0 HP if they lag any longer. Ignoring the toxicity, the MC drops another interrogation question, trying to find out how many players are in her party out there. Hearing she's supposedly solo, he sarcastically asks how exactly she managed to sneak past an entire zombie horde without taking a single point of damage. The reality check hits the peasants instantly, making them realize that innocent voice was 100 bait. Instantly, the gentle tapping turns into brutal, destructive hits against the wooden frame. Sweating pure fear at the plot twist, the NPC panics, asking what the strat is now. Keeping his cool, the kid just reaches his hand back and demands someone drop him a weapon. Spooked, one of the guys trades him a heavy iron blade right into his inventory. The warrior winds up and charges a frontal heavy attack with max damage stats. In a lightning-fast frame, he clips through the solid wood door, landing a critical hit right on the hidden threat outside. The knockback collapses the frame and sends wood splinters flying everywhere. Giant bone claws smash through the barricade, revealing the fake girl was just a mutated mob. Reading the enemy playbook, Alvin explains a necromancer is definitely micromanaging these mobs, since they know how to run phishing scams on humans. The door finally breaks with a massive crash, unable to tank the outside pressure. The giant green mutant clips into the tavern, walking right over the busted barricade debris. Staring down its loot, the creature drops a threatening roar, flashing its sharp fangs. Super annoyed by the audio spam, the MC tells the beast to mute its mic and slices it in half with a clean, glowing strike. Turning to the spooked locals, he tells everyone to chill since the zone is secured. But his confident smirk gets deleted a millisecond later when he checks the outside render. The massive hole in the wall reveals a literal army of mutants pushing the choke point. The monster wave drops a synchronized roar, ready to eat anyone who gets in their hitbox. The guys lose all hope, warning each other about the mob's fatal poison debuff. Gripping his blade tight, Alvin gets into stance and commands everyone to draw their weapons for the team fight. Hyped by his leadership buff, the locals push forward, screaming they'll defend their spawn points at all costs. The zombies flood the room, while the defenders sweat hard to keep them from pushing to the top floor. Camping on the second floor, Freya guards a mom and her kid, telling everyone to stack in the middle of the room to avoid getting wall-banged. Upstairs, the VIPs stay huddled and terrified, trying to stealth through the raid. Outside, another green beast starts wall-climbing the building, trying to clip in any way it can. The zombie mob shatters the wooden window, but Alvin was already camping the spot. Trying to ignore the chaotic audio, Freya tells everyone to keep their cool and not panic spam. Before it can push the group, the mutant gets stunned by a wooden bucket flying right into its face. The village men pop out holding knives and pots, announcing they're joining the lobby. Amazed by the guts, the princess recognizes the classic bravery of her server's player base. Not wasting frames, she channels her mana, rendering a glowing magic circle right on her hands. Sharp ice spikes shoot at the creature, pinning the mob down on the first floor. Keeping the spell active, the girl guarantees she's on full shield duty for everyone up there. Confident in her skilled tree, she tells Alvin not to stress about her floor. Meanwhile, the ground floor is an absolute disaster, with a whole horde clipping into the lobby. Knowing that playing passive is a throw, the warrior announces he's going out to hunt the enemy admin. The locals instantly agree, keeping their weapons up to body block the lane. Pushing like a madman, the MC executes a beast, demanding they clear the lane. Dashing out of the inn, he yeets himself right into the middle of the enemy Zerg. The kid spams fast, brutal combos while telling the mobs to get out of his face. But the constant durability drain on the heavy armor makes the basic iron sword snap in half. Seeing his weapon break, the kid gets salty about losing his only gear right in the red zone. Cornered, he sighs, admitting the basic tier sword actually tanked a decent amount of hits. Planting his feet, the warrior realizes he's only got one strat left to pop. Activating his core modding cheat, the kid's character model starts glowing like crazy. The magic actually alters the map geometry, spawning massive rock spikes from the ground. Wearing a thick, heavy rock armor skin, he equips heavy dual blades and pops his barbarian rage. With a hyped grin under his helmet, the MC challenges the mobs to a real ranked match. In a devastating push, he rolls through the mobs with absolutely broken ease. Watching from the spectator cam, Kuro is shook seeing the insane DPS of what was supposed to be a random casual. Tilted by the unexpected boss fight, the villain flames the traitor Kyan for baiting him into this lobby. Suddenly, the necromancer spots a glowing green particle effect, totally doxing his hiding spot. Guided by the friendly ping, the rock warrior locks his crosshairs right on the villain's camp. Modding the ground geometry super fast, the kid crafts a massive, sharp rock spear. After confirming the mage's coordinates via the visual glitch, he lines up the throw with max power. The giant projectile snipes through the village skybox at terrifying speed right at the target. By sheer luck, Kuro manages to dodge roll the nuke that tears up the map right next to him. Sweating absolute terror, the dark mage can't compute how someone has that much raw stat power. The jump scare turns into total shock when a sharp blade backstabs him out of nowhere. Right then, Kyan unstealths from the shadows, whispering in the enemy's ear that nothing is patched out. Salty about the team kill, the bleeding necromancer demands to know why his old guildmate griefed him. After pulling out his dagger, the traitor trolls him, saying it's just the meta. Unequipping his heavy rock skin, Alvin casually walks up to the duo. Holding the wiped blade, the wizard turns to the warrior and sends a party invite for a massive alliance. Keeping his serious face, the MC asks straight up what the terms of service are for this deal. The villain explains he wants to force their old coach in the capital to get permabanned. Crossing his arms, totally sus, the kid wants to know the real lore behind this strat. Being greedy, Kyan admits he needs to delete the old admin so he can level up to the 4th tier himself. To skip the cutscene, Alvin gets to the point and asks what loot his party gets out of this. The mage guarantees he'll CC the tracker squad and lag out any data on the princess. With this extra buffer time, he swears the royals will have an AFK trip back to the fortress. Clicking accept on the trade, the warrior promises he'll drop a massive debuff on the target. Fading into the dark fog, the mage tells the kid to play his role perfectly. Just watching the mage log off, Alvin figures the princess would only ask for a carry if the casuals were in danger. Hooked on the lore drops, he wonders what the real connection is between Freya and that toxic traitor. When the sun renders in, the locals emote and celebrate surviving the nightmare raid. Skipping the victory cutscene, Freya tells them they need to fast travel right now to avoid more team wipes. Inside the inn, the VIP girl speed types a secret DM to warn her brother Otto. After sealing the letter safely, the princess uses voice chat to call in a special summon. Instantly, a glowing magic portal renders right in the middle of the wooden room. A super cute golden doggo jumps out of the light ring, wagging its tail with max happiness stats. Petting the good boy, she equips the message to him and macros him to deliver it to the nearest save point. Going serious mode, the girl orders the pet to never leak her coordinates to anyone but her bro. Hyped for the epic quest, the loyal pet barks, promising he won't throw the match. Outside, the village map finally loads a peaceful weather cycle under the bright sun. Later on, the warrior is AFK resting on the floor, waiting for the cue to pop for departure. The door swings open, revealing a pink-haired kid staring at Alvin totally confused. Super sus of the local, the prince instantly demands to know what his connection is to his sister. Cornered by heavy armor guards, Alvin puts his hands up, not knowing how to explain the toxic vibe drops when Freya spawns in smiling, calling for her little bro with huge wholesome energy. With a polite smile, the royal heir introduces her carry to the stressed prince. Still acting like a premium VIP, the pink kid orders Alvin to grab the inventory and head to the mount. Outside, an insanely pay-to-win royal carriage is already idling for the party. Chilling on the premium seats, they both relax knowing they finally have high-level escorts. Taking the reins, the armored knight inputs the fast travel command to the mount. The vehicle boosts down the lit road, leaving the red zones way behind in the dust. After a massive loading screen, the rescue squad finally renders near the colossal gates of the hub city. In the packed streets of the megacity, the server chat goes wild cheering for the princess's safe return. Loading into the fortress marks the end of the escort mission, and the princess immediately sprints down the halls calling for her dad. Finding the bedridden admin, she drops to her knees crying, while he just casually asks if she finally relogged. Showing some relief, the old mustache king claims her respawn is an epic W for the server. With tears in her eyes, the young VIP drops the lore that the Necromancer Guild totally backstabbed them. The admin stays chill and asks if the griefing was just targeted at the Royal Guild or the whole Elrond server. Raising her voice in anger, Freya claims the traitors went rogue against the entire physical map. Computing the threat level, the dad guesses they totally joined a toxic cult worshipping evil devs. Pivoting the topic fast, he asks about the party invite she sent to a guy named Alvin, curious about his player stats. A bit flustered, the princess looks away and admits the warrior is a pretty broken, weird build. Happy with the review, the king tells her to invite the kid to the banquet, since he wants to check his gear IRL. The second his daughter leaves the room, the admin's face shifts into a way colder, sweaty try-hard expression. Not wasting frames, he pings a loyal mod, doubting the old security anti-cheat can track the toxic cult. Instantly, the ill-feared floor boss bows with respect, accepting the quest from his admin. Before kicking the NPC out, the king demands a full background check on the mystery carry. Far away, our MC is AFK chilling in his room until someone knocks on his door. Waking up from his microsleep, the warrior clicks allow for the NPC to enter. A top-tier maid named Maria clips into the room, dropping the notification that the admin invited him to a VIP dinner. Bowing respectfully, she suggests the guest hit the premium bathhouse to clear his travel debuffs. The kid gets a bit awkward at the VIP treatment, nodding that these are the base etiquette rules for the palace hub. The map instantly transitions to the Ultra HD clear water fountains of the Royal Spa Zone. Guided by the maid, the kid walks down the lit halls until he hits the massive indoor pool. Standing by the water, he just idles, waiting for the next tutorial prompt. Jump-scaring the guy, the woman hugs him from behind and offers to unequip his gear, asking for a co-op bath. Spooked by the bold move, Alvin gently pushes her back, asking if this is seriously part of the welcome tutorial. Keeping her NPC roleplay, she swears this intimate service is just one of her base daily quests as a maid. Sus of the massive simp energy, the warrior stares her down, trying to read if she's dropping fake lore. Chilling by the pool edge, he instantly detects the trap and points out a whale guild wouldn't use a tier 3 fighter just for cleaning duty. Realizing her stealth got cracked, the fake maid drops an evil smirk, admitting she got read way too fast. Swapping to a much more confident idle animation, she drops the roleplay and promises she won't grief his AFK time anymore. The MC stays solo in the massive bathhouse, doing the math on the sneaky skill check he just survived. Outside, the massive palace gardens look super peaceful under the max brightness sun. Camping in the outer halls, Commander Ashuram asks the spy what exactly made the tiny Freya simp for this guy. Maria hypes up the target, reviewing him as super high IQ, alert, and totally immune to basic bait. Staring at the woman, the boss says he definitely doesn't remember putting "seduce the guest" on her quest log. She shrugs it off, claiming it was just a random freestyle skill check, and trolls him by asking if the boss is getting salty. Tilted by the troll, he tells his minion not to throw again and announces he'll handle the rest of the quest himself. With a sharp glare, the leader decides he'll let his squad have a little PvP fun with the Outlander. Putting his fingers to his mouth, Ashuram drops a high-pitched whistle that echoes through the fortress map. Instantly, a squad of massive aggro wolves spawns, rushing down the stone stairs. Meanwhile, the weather over Ivanmore looks totally chill from the skybox camera. In the guest room, Alvin finishes equipping some insanely premium, high-tier cosmetic armor in front of the mirror. A weird audio cue grabs the warrior's aggro, making him spin his camera around confused. Face-to-face with a giant white wolf growling, he jumps and asks what spawn point this giant dog came from. Inspecting the mob closely, the kid quickly corrects himself, realizing this beast is definitely not a normal dog asset. Clipping into the room with max swagger, Ashuram macros the beast to play with the kid and flex its DPS. The commander keeps a smug troll face, betting his summon will CC the Outlander with fear instantly. The giant wolf mom drops a nightmare roar, opening its massive jaw full of sharp teeth right in the kid's face. But the beast's aggro drops to 0 in a single frame, swapping to a soft, submissive one. Completely breaking the expected code, the monster rolls on its belly, wagging its tail and begging for head pats like a harmless doggo. Watching the total fail, Maria loses it and starts spam laughing, roasting her boss's 200 IQ strat. Facepalming hard, Ashuram admits he's super salty about miscalculating that play. Trying to recover his KD, he steps up saying it's better to 1v1 the kid directly, like a good uncle should. Dropping pats on the soft fur, the MC pulls from his memory logs that this tame wolf's name is Sheila. The boss steps into aggro range and calls the kid by his gamer tag, ready for a direct duel. Dropping his formal intro, the commander flexes that he's a frontline raid boss sitting at tier 4. To stat check the kid, he sends a friendly duel request to figure out what the princess saw in him. Without backing up a single pixel, Alvin clicks accept instantly, promising the PvP match will be fun. The lobby moves to the fortress's massive training arena, where the guard NPCs bow to the master's spawn. Ashuram tells the guards to clear the zone, announcing he's just running a friendly scrim with the new guy. The fighters are shook and hyped, recognizing the kid as the troll who caused the server lag last time. Set up on the dirt map, the frontline boss asks if his opponent is ready to hit start. With an explosive dash, Ashuram closes the gap in one frame and demands the kid not get one shot too easily. Equipping just a wooden training sword, Alvin stays locked in and promises that ain't happening. The veteran slams the ground with a massive owie, kicking up a huge cloud of dirt and rocks everywhere. Flexing his durability, the warrior tanks the pressure, coating his weapon in a glowing aura. Shook by the parry, the leader asks if these are the kid's famous pro-level mechanics. With a confident smirk, the MC just sarcastically nods, ready for the next phase. The commander resumes his combo with fast spins, telling the Outlander to keep showing his kit. The arena turns into pure chaos with a non-stop barrage of attacks, getting blocked by the kid's speedy shield. But the repeated damage output from a tier 4 stat block is too much, shattering the wooden sword midair. Canceling his attack, Ashuram calls GG's, seeing his rival's weapon durability hit 0. Holding the broken handle, Alvin flashes a cheeky smirk and warns the match isn't over yet. Instantly, the broken wood bursts into intense magic flames powered by the kid's mana pool. Punishing the boss's shock, he throws a fire slash right at the frontline commander. Panicking at the insane burst damage, Ashuram dash rolls backward, yelling for everyone to clear the blast radius. The brutal magic hit triggers a massive fire explosion that wrecks half the arena map. Once the thick smoke cloud despawns, the commander's silhouette renders back in the middle of the rubble. Coughing hard, Ashuram complains that the new-gen players are absolutely busted and need a nerf. The veteran hypes the kid up, confirming he passed the skill check, but Alvin grumbles the rival was playing on easy mode. Moonwalking away, the boss tells the kid to equip fresh cosmetics because the Boomer Gustav is going to be a way harder raid. Fully geared up and walking down a premium hallway, the MC calls out Freya's name when he spots a familiar face. The princess turns around surprised, flexing that she's rocking an epic white dress skin. Awkwardly, the warrior admits the transmog was so heavy he wasn't even sure it was her. Finding his reaction funny, the girl jokes that even a barbarian like him looks high tier when he equips premium gear. Soon the kid's camera snaps to something else, and he stutters, asking why a certain NPC is dressed like that. Prince Otto spawns in wearing a wild red dress and questions who wrote the TOS saying guys have to wear male skins. Ignoring the kid's confused emote, the prince calmly announces it's time to load into the main hall. Walking down the long red carpet, Alvin formally kneels in front of the Elrond server admin. Keeping his respect stats high, the warrior claims it's an epic honor to finally meet the Demon King. The old boss inspects the guest closely and decides to ask straight up what his review of the nation's current meta is. The MC tanks the question, thinking hard about the exact dialogue options he's going to pick. Telling the kid to drop the fear debuff, the king orders him to leak exactly what needs to be patched. Staring the admin down, Alvin declares without stuttering that the server needs a massive reset. During the dark night cycle, a sketchy silhouette climbs the long stone stairs of an isolated tower. The edgy room is lit up by just one low HP candle melting on the desk. A hooded minion drops the intel to his boss that the princess and the barbarian just loaded into the capital. Right then, a wrinkled hand grabs a flask full of a highly sus, glowing green potion. The old necromancer coach chugs the buff potion casually while listening to the voice logs. Hyped, the villain confirms the undead Colossus strat is running smooth and orders the factions to keep PvPing to farm time. He swears that when the ultimate weapon finishes crafting, even the Royal Guild will be forced to surrender to his DPS. The minion understands the stakes and confirms he knows exactly what his next quest marker is. With a dismissive emote, the Dark Master just tells the noob to log off and finish the grind. Suddenly, a weird tentacle plant pet comes alive and asks if that kid was the disciple he picked to carry. The old coach instantly calls Cap, claiming the kid lacks any special traits and he's still LFG looking for group for an. Doubling down on the trash talk, the necromancer says he'd never pick such a low-tier player to inherit his loot stash. Pooling his corrupted mana, the mage spawns an intense blue flame right in his palm. Pulling up an ancient scroll, he reveals it's the exact minimap data of the city's underground subway routes. The boomer hands the item to the magic pet and orders it to drop spell traps on very specific coordinates. The creepy plant hypes up the big brain play, noting the master is fully ready to 1v9 the entire civilized server. With zero regret in his chat logs, the necromancer just drops an agreed emote to the threat. Far from that toxic tower, the epic royal palace stays chill under the moonlight. Back in the hall, the admin drops a speech about how the new player base always finds crazy new strats to carry the server to a new patch. The boss then locks his camera right on the kid, hinting he's exactly that kind of op player. Keeping a solid poker face, Alvin listens to the leader without letting any debuffs show. In his head, the king is totally amazed, seeing the kid has mana pools and skills way above the current server level cap. He reads that the warrior's rig is already showing clear visual bugs of breaking the physics engine of the material world. Resuming the dialogue, the mustache boomer asks if the kid knows what players with this busted potential were called in the beta. With his voice booming across the hall, the king reveals he's considered the seed of perfection. The MC gets totally shook hearing that legendary title drop from the admin's mouth. The wiki lore says these fighters bypass mortal caps to code an absolutely god-tier body and soul. The kid remembers he already hit max level in the old game, but notes the king's patch notes sound a bit different from reality. Chilling in his throne, the admin sighs, claiming the server's endgame needs to be handed over to the new-gen players. To the kid's absolute shock, the king transfers 100 of the escort quest for Princess Freya right to his quest log. Sounding almost like a bro, the admin politely asks the Outlander to spend more AFK time with his daughter. The next day, the capital's massive PvP arena is completely maxed out for an esports event. The crowd is super toxic, spamming insults and yelling for the players to wipe the enemy team. On the field, a giant Minotaurskin tank runs holding the ball with max speed stats. The mutant drops a brutal tackle on the defender, ragdolling the rivals super hard. The caster goes crazy, calling the final point and hyping the Labyrinth squad as the tournament champs. Watching from the VIP box, the princess claps, hyped about how epic the match was. The stream is interrupted when a peasant clips through the crowd, screaming in panic for the royal highness. Stressed by the NPC's panic, Freya instantly asks what massive bug just happened. A kid with purple hair loads in sweating cold and drops the leak that a guy named Caesar just hit 0 HP permanently. The royal heir goes completely pale and repeats the victim's gamertag, totally stun-locked. Without wasting a frame, the squad fast travels to the stone alleys of the city's low-level slum zone. Loading into the crime scene, they find the dropped body of Julius Caesar, a highly respected member of the Progressive Guild. Scanning the zone, Alvin checks the blood splatters and calculates the exact hitbox size of the griefer. Then he spots a creepy string of text written in blood right on the stone wall. The princess reads the word justice out loud, having zero clue what the troll was trying to say. Thinking hard, the MC asks if the victim was really as wholesome a player as everyone claimed. Hearing the disrespect makes the purple-haired kid tilt off the face of the earth, forbidding anyone from trash-talking a logged-off noble. Furious at the lack of respect, the kid threatens to send the Outlander a 1v1 deathmatch invite if he doesn't delete his comment. Seeing the lobby get toxic, Freya steps in front and orders Brutus to mute his mic right now. Keeping it chill, Alvin uses his brain and asks why a VIP would walk solo into this red zone slum in the middle of the night. He backs up his theory, pointing out the victim was a tier 2 fighter, but didn't even drop a single attack animation before wiping. Giving the stressed kid a light tap on the shoulder, the warrior suggests he stop spamming duel invites to randoms. Taking back the raid leader spot, the princess orders Brutus to just handle the funeral event while she admins the investigation. Still tilted, the kid bows respectfully, accepting Her Highness's macro. The second the kid logs out of the zone, Alvin repeats how sus this whole gank setup is in such a trash-tier neighborhood. The warrior guesses this PK, player kill, was totally scripted to trigger a massive guild war between the Empire's political factions. The MC figures a guy this loved by the progressives wouldn't solo queue into the slums at night without a major quest. He bets the dead guy was hiding a fatal glitch. Trying to connect the dots, Freya considers a secret trade with the conservatives but rejects it instantly. That rival guild already had their own carry for the elections. With that in mind, the warrior reminds her the Elrond server politics isn't just a 1v1 between two guilds. The princess instantly realizes the necromancers might be pulling the strings. He pulls up the logs, remembering a dark guild member delayed a ping in the past to secure their escape. Once outed, that traitor became a disposable decoy for the faction war. Completely mind-blown by the big brain logic, the young VIP asks if the victim was literally that undercover spy. Confirming the strat, Alvin explains the guy's blind trust in his connection made him drop his guard. Walking solo, he got jump-scared and wiped without even pressing a button. Processing this heavy lore drop, the heir asks if this griefing is directly linked to Kyan's macro. Far from the slums, the Royal Guard keeps the security firewall extremely tight around the Great Demon King's spawn zone. The admin is AFK in his premium bed when he gets a ping that Asura is here. Without delay, he asks what intel the commander is holding. Holding a text file, the frontline boss reminds him he got the quest to scan the Outlander. He reveals the data mine on the kid's backstory finally finished downloading. Reading the patch notes together, Ashuram admits the leaks about the kids' early game completely broke any tier list predictions they had. The boss is totally shook reading the logs. He can't compute how the kid managed to party up with the Wisdom Church Guild. Meanwhile, the fortress's massive alchemy lab stays dead silent, packed with premium crafting stations. Breaking the AFK silence, Alvin pops his modding skill, channeling a massive magic aura through his hands. The energy compiles super fast into a glowing beam, rendering into the heavy hitbox of a high-tech firearm. Inspecting the newly crafted loot, he happily remembers this busted weapon skin is called the Smasher. With a clean animation, the kid racks the slide, confirming his gear is 100 ready for PvP. Flexing absolute confidence, the MC decides it's past time to run another recon mission down in the slum zone. Later on, the narrow choke points of the Broke District are packed, with local NPCs idling and walking around. Hiding his name tag under a wide, dark cloak, the kid stealths his way right through the middle of the crowded lobby. Noticing he's getting stream-sniped closely, he quickly jukes into an empty alley to set up a camp spot. Keeping his mic muted while hugging the wall, the warrior patiently waits for the stalker to walk into his trap. With a lightning-fast dash, he pops out of stealth, aiming the barrel right at the hooded silhouette, demanding to know who's in his lobby.